Hi, my name is Amanda Platt. Welcome to CLC's 20 Questions Study Abroad edition. I graduated from CLC in 2015, I believe it was May of 2015, and I studied abroad in Xi'an, China for a semester for the fall of 2014. Here we go with the 20 questions. So, why I chose to study abroad in China because I had never gone to China. I knew nothing about the culture and the language, and the program seemed very affordable, so I decided to go. I covered the cost of the program. Actually, CLC offered a scholarship at the time that covered up to half of my costs for the semester, and I actually found the China program was a lot cheaper than some of the other study abroad programs that went to, places like Europe or other things like that. But yeah, it was primarily through a scholarship that paid for half of my costs. When I hear culture shock, the first memory that comes to mind when I studied abroad in China was the toilets. Here in the United States, we have Western toilets, the ones that we're all used to. And in China, I remember, there's quite literally a hole in the ground, and I had never used a toilet like that in my life. And that was just the standard there. And by the end, I was a squatting pro. But in the beginning, that was a lot of culture shock for me. My experience as an American woman of color studying abroad in China was definitely noticeable, especially with my hair. It's up now, but I have very curly hair, and it was quite a wondrous thing over there. I often had strangers coming up to me and putting their hands in my hair and touching my curls because they were just very fascinated by my hair. That's the first thing I think of. What I discovered about myself when I was in China, I discovered that I'm very adaptable. The fact that I didn't know any of the language whatsoever, didn't know how to speak it, read it, write it, anything in Mandarin Chinese, and being in a culture I'd never been in, and still being able to adapt, make friends with other Chinese students at the university, that was phenomenal. So I learned I was adaptable. A food that I ate in China that I missed the most, was across from our university that we were staying at. It was a little street vendor. They made all sorts of things like fried rice and noodle dishes, and it was a couple, and they were there all day, every day, like the whole time that we were there. And I would go there at least once or twice a week, and they would teach me words in Chinese and teach me how to order what I normally got in Chinese. So I missed them, and I missed their food because it was really delicious. I got involved on campus in China by being involved. They had an American Culture Center, so I actually gave a presentation about some American holidays such as Thanksgiving. I gave kind of the history of Thanksgiving, the good and the bad in the United States. And we also, me and the other people who were studying abroad from CLC, we arranged a Halloween party because many of them had never celebrated Halloween, and we wanted to show that part of our culture with them. And we felt like celebrities because we dressed up in costumes, and they were very interested in that and came to take pictures with us, and that was a really fun experience. I did travel to other parts of China when I was there. I went to Shanghai, and we also took a 18-hour sleeper train to Beijing, and that was phenomenal. It was a much bigger city than Xi'an, and there was a much more international influence. And that was also the first time I had taken a high-speed train. We took that on the way back. So on the way from Xi'an to Beijing, it was 18 hours, and from Beijing back to Xi'an in a high-speed train, it was 5. So that was pretty crazy. Something that I regret that I didn't do while I was in China, I wish that I had maybe spent some more time getting to know some of the other Chinese locals. I had a few friends that I made, probably 3 friends that were Chinese that I made good friends with, but naturally I also spent a lot of time with the other Americans from CLC while we were there, and if I could go back, I think that's what I would do, is just kind of push a little bit more to make more connections with the other Chinese students at the university. My housing situation in China, we had it used to be a hotel, and it was transitioned into a kind of, I guess you could say, dorm for international students, and that was probably one of the funnest experiences. The first 3 floors of our hotel were full of Korean exchange students, and then we at CLC we were on like the top floor, and that was interesting because we not only had interactions with, local Chinese university students, but we also made close friends and friendships with the Korean exchange students. And a lot of us were going through the same sorts of culture shock, even though we came from completely different cultures. And that was also a really eye-opening experience for me. I stayed in communication with my family by using, I believe it was like WeChat or something. In China, I couldn't use Facebook Messenger, couldn't use Facebook, couldn't use YouTube without like a VPN. So I had, luckily I had an iPhone, and I think with iMessage I was still able to FaceTime and do iMessage, but of course we had to really coordinate, the long time difference. But in general, I think I contacted them about like once every couple weeks. The classroom environment was very different compared to the US. I would say in the US, specifically at CLC, we have a lot of discussion-based classes where we are interacting with the teacher, we're having discussions, it's okay to ask questions. And then in China, when I was sitting in on classes that were like more Eastern style or Chinese style, it very much is like the teacher has all the power. It's not as much discussion. It's a lot more sitting and learning and listening and memorizing. And for me, that's not how I learn. I learn really well with hands-on discussion-based classroom interactions. So they definitely were very different. I did meet other students from other countries when I was in China. We made friends with 3 girls from Belgium who were studying there. They were teaching English. We got very close to them. And like I said, the Korean exchange students that stayed in our hotel, we became close with them as well. I do still stay in contact with some of the students. It's been years, it's been a long time, but we still will email each other sometimes and kind of just like update each other on our lives. I hope I can go back one day and be able to kind of reconnect with the friends that I made when I was there. Something that I recommend to pack that I didn't think of packing? That's a really good question. Maybe some comfort food from the United States that you really love. Like I really craved mac and cheese when I was there, and it just didn't really exist. And it was very understated how much I missed having mac and cheese. Just like the little box mac and cheese from Annie's. Pack some of that if you can. Just like when you're having that day when the culture shock really hits you, just if you got like a bag of chips or a certain brand, something that you love, just pack it. That way you can have it on that day when that homesickness is like really hitting you. I think it's necessary to become a global citizen because, I was a global studies major, so obviously I'm biased. But in general, the world is much bigger than the United States. We are becoming more globalized more than ever, interacting with different people. And I think now more than ever, there is a need to be empathetic and understanding of different people and different cultures. So we need to love more. You can only love others when you understand them. My study abroad experience did lead me toward a different path. Before I studied abroad, I wanted to study like film. And when I got back from my study abroad experience, I changed my major to global communication or global studies, and I transferred to UW-Milwaukee, where I literally, it impacted me so much that I wanted to do a major that was centered around learning about cultures and languages and the world. Advice that I would give to students that believe studying abroad is a luxury and unattainable, it is not. Work hard with the financial aid department, ask questions to the study abroad department. There are so many people who have just a wide breadth of knowledge about different scholarships and grants that you can get. I personally got like a diversity grant when I went through UW-Milwaukee. I got a scholarship that paid for half of my program when I went to China at CLC. So really just have open conversations and ask about those funding opportunities with, the CIE and with financial aid, and just really advocate for yourself and your need for funding. I encourage community college students to study abroad, because I think community colleges can offer programs, I think, that can be a lot more affordable than some of the big universities, four-year universities can. And often I feel like, at least for me, the experience was very personalized. It was a small group of people, and we had a faculty member who was with us the entire time, and we got to really know her very well, Dr. Jill Brulman. Love her. So just, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Yeah, you absolutely will not regret it. Period. If I could describe study abroad in 5 words: culture shock, food, money, friends, I don't know what the other would be. Fun. There you go. Thanks for watching.